It's on page 143, ones you have in front of you. So we have to realize that everybody have it? The last paragraph on 143, Os Samach. Yeah, Samach, the last paragraph. Excuse me, pay, Os pay. You have to realize one thing when he's saying here, Yechave Batfila Shemaorer Osios Shenivru Bahem Shamayim Ba'aretz. When a person speaks, even regular speech, if it's Lashon HaKodesh, if it's Hebrew, he is using the letters that we use to create the world. Look what he says, Yechaben b'tfilah, when you're davening, when you're praying, Shema'orer Osios Shenivru B'hem Shamayim B'aretz. Not only the heavens and the earth, all the creations. Elyonim v'tachtonim. Kol ha'olamos kulam. Everything that was created in the world were created with the osios of the Aleph base. So if you have a deep and encompassing understanding of the Aleph base, you have a deep encompassing understanding of the entire world. The Aleph base is so, well, what's Aleph base? Come on, when I was in the first grade, I learned Aleph base, Gimel, Dalet. You can't even imagine the depth of each letter, the energy that exists in each letter of the Aleph. He's telling us here that the Aleph base is used to create heavens, earth, and all those things that are in the heavens and the earth. The Aleph base, it's something which is beyond our imagination. Can't even understand what that means. But nevertheless, this is a fact. It's a given. That's something you can't make something like that up. So he's saying when you speak, you're using those letters which are creating the entire world. V'im kain, see this further. B'amro hatfila v'hashvachim. When you are saying the prayers and praising God within Lashon HaKodesh, Hu'omer im kol ha'olamos, im kol ha'nivroim, that means that you are actually taking them all together and you are now focusing all that energy into your words. All those words which were used to create the world, those letters that create the world, what happened to those letters? What happened to them? They're still around. They're still around.
Could we say they contain information?
Of course they contain information, of course.
So that's a little less abstract than energy.
All right. There's information, there's everything you need. You are now queuing in to that, let's say, fuse box, which was used to give out all those creations. And you're queuing into that, and therefore, if I queue into that, I am arousing all of those things that were created.
You're still in the process.
It's an ongoing thing, all the time, correct. You are queuing into, you are touching, you're like pressing buttons every time you say a word. My question is a very interesting question now I'm going to ask. What happens if you don't speak Hebrew? Let's say you speak French. Well, you speak Mamalosh in English. Are you arousing those letters also?
If you're praying in that language?
Yes, if you're praying, or just like we're speaking now, you're giving a shiur or learning Torah in another language.
Sure, just give it to an angel.
Hmm?
An angel takes it.
Well, let me just make a bracha. Bracha Tov, V'noi Yahayim Melech Ha'olam Shehakol Niyeh B'Varo.
Yeah.
But another language cannot capture the same
Instead
meaning
of it
as
goes
Hebrew.
directly, go to an angel. It's filtered.
Well, what I would suggest is that since the first language is Lashon HaKodesh, that's the world was created with Lashon HaKodesh, everything, it's like the mother tongue. Everything is sort of a child of that. It's a descendants.
Dialect.
Well, I don't know if the word dialect, but everything, all other language, there was supposed to be basically 70 languages.
The dialects.
Well, based on,
No,
based
not
on
dialects.
no.
Dialects is one language with different ways of pronouncing it. No.
You're right.
There are basically 70 languages, basically 70 nations in the original plan. And all languages at the beginning everyone spoke Lashon HaKodesh, remember, up until the Mabul, right? Everyone spoke the same way. Abraham, everyone, Adam Rishon, they all used Lashon HaKodesh. That was it. Came along, the Torah,
Built the Tower of the Babel.
Hashem mixed them all up, correct. But they all come from, it seems, Lashon HaKodesh. So it could be, even if we're speaking English or any other language, it could be also somehow it gets into the mother tongue original one. I'm not sure. It's possible.
When an angel takes it up, it has some effect. I mean, Shem's presented a
Well,
way for it to get
The
to
breath of Hasidim, they say you should pray to Hashem in your own language. And it has the same effect as Hebrew.
It's not the same effect. It's not the same
It's
effect.
not, but they say
There's no comparison to using Lashon HaKodesh. No comparison. I'll tell you why. Lashon HaKodesh has an innate ability to affect upstairs in Shemayim because it's very, very, I would say, holy. That's why it's called Lashon HaKodesh. Lashon HaKodesh, it has an innate holiness in it.
I
Also,
was
Rabbi,
taught that it's better to pray in Hebrew than in English, even if you don't understand it. It's better.
That's exactly the point. Because the language itself has an innate holiness and it can accomplish things, it arouses things, it awakens things, even if you don't understand it. You have to have your heart behind it, yes. I want my words to be taken as an offering, a tefillah to you, Hashem. I don't understand what they're saying, I don't know but you understand. I know these are the words that the rabbis told me to say. I say these words, you take them up and you do what you have to do with them up there. And make all the tikkunim up there. That's fine.
also in English, for a Hebrew word, there could be 20 different spellings of the same word in English for the Hebrew word. Take the word Kabbalah. It's K, Q, 2 L's, no H, 1 L.
Yeah.
For the same word, there's so many different ways of spelling it.
In English.
In English.
Right.
Okay. All right. So you're saying it's not as exact. Fine. All right.
The heart has a lot. They had the one, I think it was in Rosh Hashanah that I learned years and years ago. Some great rabbi was trying to break through in their prayers, and it was being held back, and some young boy who couldn't pray, didn't know Hebrew, starts crowing like a rooster, and it opened up because of the heart of this child. He was trying so hard that it was able to penetrate.
Well, it's deeper than that. You know, that story has many versions to it.
Whistle.
Yeah, many versions to that story. It's an old story, many versions to it. Think for a moment. When we say the words in the Siddur, what actually goes up? What actually goes up to Shemayim?
Our thoughts?
Well, the thoughts, yeah, but what about the words that we said?
The sounds.
Sounds go up. Sounds go up. I don't know if we could find it now. I could find it now, but let me see here 1 minute.
When Shlomo Carlebach went to his first visit to Russia,
Yeah,
he did a concert in the synagogue in Moscow.
yeah,
It was packed with people, and they all wanted to pray, but they didn't know how to pray. So he told them to open all. He taught them the Aleph Beis. He
Yeah.
said the Aleph Beis, and he said Hashem will put the letters together, so that you would have you prayed.
I found it here. I'm going to quote you what it says here in the notes on the Baal Shem Tov. I don't know who this sefer is, but it's one of the early commentaries in Chassidus, and it says the following. This is a commentary on Shir HaShirim that the collector of this, who put this together, says the following. Shemati, b'shem ha-Baal Shem Tov. I heard that, she'omar, inyan eichus aliyos tfilasenu. The quality of our tefillah being elevated, b'vadai ha-tefillah eina ola b'gashmias k'moshe adam motzei. It's certain that the tefillah does not go up in the physical state that we understand it as it comes out of our mouth. There's nothing physical, first of all, that comes out. It's sound. What is sound? Sound. What is it? Ki im kimo ha'ashan ole. It goes up like smoke goes up. It does not come out in any form. You know, you, I, we, all of us, we have a form. Everybody has a form. If you would stand up against the wall, and you press your body against the wall, and then you walk away, then there's a form of what you, and we would say we would spray the outlines of your body against the wall. You walk away, and we see the outlines of the person's body against the wall. You have a form. Everyone has a form. Everybody has a specific form. You look differently. Everyone's built slightly differently. We all have hands and arms and legs, but we have a different way of putting it together. Tall, short, fat, skinny. Everybody's got a different form. That form is what your neshama looks like. It has a form. It's a spiritual form. It goes up to Shemayim. When a person is nifter, so that form goes up to Shemayim, and it goes into Gan Eden. But there's two levels of Gan Eden in Shemayim. One is Gan Eden, we call Gan Eden HaTachton, the lower level Gan Eden, and then you have Gan Eden Elyon, which you go into a higher level. What's the difference between Gan Eden HaTachton and Gan Eden HaElyon? Gan Eden HaTachton, you still retain the form. You still retain the form that your body has, which is occupied by your neshama. That form stays in Gan Eden HaTachton. When you're at a certain level and you have to go higher to Gan Eden HaElyon, you lose that form also. There's only a spiritual essence, that's all there is. Spiritual essence that goes up higher, and you lose the form. Up there, there's no... A form is some kind of a physical, I would say, tangibility. It's an outline, it has a height, it has a weight, not a weight, it has a width, length. It's a form, that's what form means. So he's saying also the tefillah is the same thing. Tefillah is all the same thing. He's heard from the Baal Shem Tov. Where is it? Did I lose it? Yeah, the tefillah does not go up physically like you say it out of your mouth. Ki'im kamo ha'ashan ole, it goes up like smoke. What does go up? He says, Ru'usa, that means your desire, your will. V'ratzon ha'adam, and the will of the person, his oris, his lovers, with his arousal, with his flame, that's what goes up. Umisha ene sechelo, a person who has some intelligence, he has yiresh asher kalalos hatfilas kashaolim einam kiim kamo ashrin ha'oleh rak ru'usa v'ratzon. So basically what goes up is sound of some kind and your desire, your will. That's what goes up. So
Isn't it late, like when you offer a carbon and the smoke goes up? It's also referred to when you give a carbon, that's the smoke that goes up as an offering going up to Hashem. Is that right?
that of course, also that's all that goes up. The animal.
So they tie together somehow.
So again, getting back to our tefillah. So when you say the words in Hebrew, you're ma'orer the oisios. You are arousing the original Aleph Beis oisios which were used to create the world. Now you can go to the next page, 144. On top of the page, the letters themselves, they are the life force of all of the creations. The letters themselves, the letters contain an energy which are supplying the entire creation with a life force. Im Kain. Im Kulam, hu omer. So when you are praying, you are therefore arousing all of the creation. At the same time that you're praying, you're arousing the entire creation. Because you're using those letters which were used to create them, and there's a connection between those things all the time. As Elio said, it's an ongoing process. The letters are always there. They never leave. They're never absent. They never non-exist. Once they came into existence, they stay. They remain in existence. All you're doing is cueing into those letters. And you are elevating the entire creation, the heavens, the earth, with this kavanah. Remember, you have this kavanah. You have to realize what you're doing. The intention is everything. Of course, you have to have the practical execution, but the intention, I want to do that. When I am saying the words, I want to elevate the entire Bria. I want that. And you become one of these people who are considered the elite. The elite people who are praying with kavanah, understanding what they're doing when they are davening. They know what they're doing. They are arousing the entire Bria. You also have the ability, realizing that you can get to people who are low class people, low level people, uneducated people, illiterate people. But they are living because the Oisios created them. And you into those Oisios, you are now arousing the Oisios inside those people too. Yes.
How does I don't know if it's the right word, but how does the life force vary letter to letter? Because each letter is different.
Yeah.
It's differentiated.
Right.
But each contains life force, you're saying.
That's right.
So how does it differ from letter to letter?
Each letter has its own particular way it's pronounced, its meaning, and each one has a different energy that it emits. Each one. I mean, we had 22 letters, right? Each one is doing what it has to do. That's all. Now this is so important because he says at the end, The Baal Shem Tov cautioned his Talmidim about this many, many times. That's why I'm going over. We did this one time before 2 weeks ago we did it. We had to end with it. I want to go over it again because of its importance. So you have to realize you have to have this intention. You have to have this intention. If you, in other words, want to influence somebody else, you have the ability to do it. If you make up your mind that I want the words that I say should arouse the oisios that are inside that person and give him some kind of a spiritual lift, some kind of a spiritual energy that he didn't have, that he's lacking, that he needs. And I want my oisios that I'm saying to have that effect. Then it will have that effect. It's your ratzon and your saying of the words. I see how important it is, by the way, from here, to say the words clearly, not to swallow the words. You swallow the words, it's a big mishmash, that's all it is. But to say every word clearly. And even though you have difference in dialect, right? Doesn't matter. An Englishman will say it one way, and a Portuguese person will say it another way, but it's the same aleph base. Doesn't make a difference. Dialect doesn't matter, but you're saying the words as best as you can. The best way you can is say the word clearly. Each word, each letter has to be said and enunciated properly, and you want to do it in such a way that you are influencing Plony and Plony and Plonius and that person, that you want to influence them. You will have that influence. Question is, will you see the influence? Will you be able to recognize a change? That's not so easy.
So your accent doesn't matter.
Huh?
Your accent doesn't matter.
No,
Accent, no.
doesn't matter at all. He says, Ad kadei kach, look at what he says, v'yachzul mutav. You can get people to actually do tshuva from this.
Really?
Yuchul is pal yosef b'kavana. The more you put into your tefillah, and you're not doing anything to them at all, you completely disconnected from them. They could be in another country. Doesn't make a difference. They don't have to know anything about it at all. But if I am saying my words with an intention that I want my energies that I'm putting into these words, my ratzon, I want it to influence those people, and I keep doing it, and I'm not going to give up. Again and again and again, it will influence those people. Yachziru l'mutav. They'll become better than they were. The Baal Shem Tov Gilon Zeh, he revealed this to his Talmud. It was a revelation to them. The Yama Talmidav Tzorach Atal L'Palel V'Afilu Al Of HaPoreach HaMitzavtzei. Even birds are influenced by this. V'chein b'divrei Torah l'vnei Adam. Lo'chicha moel kavanazu. Also, when you're happy to be talking to people, you want to teach them something that they didn't know before. It doesn't have to be davening. It could be divrei Torah. This also, this intention is to bring the energies into them. It will help. It will give them a benefit. They will be elevated. V'hizir b'zeh harbei.
In this world and the next.
I'm not talking about the next world. Even in this world, the next one.
Even in the next world.
Huh? Well. Okay, now, I understood this to mean exactly as we said it. But in the next paragraph, we're going to see something that he puts a little bit different take on it. But I think the Baal Shem Tov, from what I understood, is saying what we're saying. Or we're saying what the Baal Shem Tov is saying, I should say. That's the way it works. Since I'm using a tool, which is very, very powerful, this tool can be used to an advantage. This tool can be used to an advantage. Why should I not use it? It's a powerful tool that I have. I'm arousing energies of Kedusha that can influence other people positively, then I should do it. You make a big difference in the world. Okay, now, according to what we just said now, all you need now is what? To say the words and have the intention. Two things. To say the words and have the proper intention. Direct your energies to X, Y, Z, that person, this person, a group. Anyone you want. Anyone you want. But you have to have the intention and you have to be insistent. Don't think in one time you're going to change a person over. It takes time. But you can do it without even talking to the person. No need to talk to the person at all. Okay, now, let's take a look at the next piece on the page you have in front of you. We'll see what his take is on it, and he has a slightly different angle. I'm not so sure that he's more right than we are right, but we have to see what he says and take into consideration his approach. And he's certainly a bigger authority than we are. Shemaiti, b'shem harav hamagid moreinu harav Menachem Mendel. Now Menachem Mendel, that could be, the Magid name is rich, Menachem Mendel, his name was, or it could be Kotzk. Kotzker, I think it was also a Menachem Mendel, but anyway, one of these big leaders, he says the following: B'omer divrei musar v'tochacha lebnei iro. If you have a person who is a rabbi or a person who's giving a shiur, and he wants to have an influence on his congregation. The rabbi, sits up front and he sees his congregation, and this person is doing that thing, he shouldn't be doing it. He has this problem, he has that problem. And the rabbi gets very often a lot of information about the people in the congregation, and he wants to somehow get a message through to them that we can do it much better than what's going on right now. He says, "Ba'omer divrei musar v'tochacha lefnei iro." He's talking about the people in his community, people in his congregation. So he says the following, very interesting what he says. Look what he says. Yira, look at it in 144, second paragraph. Yira lekasher es atzmo tchila bo yiskorach shemo. If he wants to have success, if he wants to do it right, before he starts talking to the congregation, he has to connect himself with the Borei Olam. Yikasher atzmo tchila yisborach shemo. Connect yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Think of a plug. A plug, you want the plug to bring electricity to a certain appliance. What do you do first? You plug the appliance into the wall, to the electrical supply, and then the lights, and then you turn on the switch, and then on your appliance, everything starts to work. But the first thing you plug into the wall, right? To the supply, the electrical supply. After you plug in the electrical supply, then you flip on the switch on the appliance, and then it works. Because first, it was plugged in to the electrical circuit, to the electrical grid. If it wasn't plugged into the grid, it wouldn't help you, correct? He says, you rabbi, you want to have a message going out to your congregation, they're the electrical appliance, you got to plug yourself into the wall. Plug yourself into the electrical grid first. So he says, Yet kasher atzmo tchila yisborach shemo, v'achar kach yireh ledabek v'lekasher es atzmo imahem. And then afterwards, try to connect with your congregation, with your people. Mitzad ha'achdus, because of unity, v'iskalus, and all being part of one, ki shoresh echad lehem l'roshei hador im b'nei ilo. So let's take our little class right here, right now. I'm coming here and I want to teach you something that I learned about the Shem Tov. I want you to all get it. What do I have to do? I have to plug myself into the wall, to Hashem Yisbarach. After I plug myself into Him, to Hashem Yisbarach, then I can start talking to you. Otherwise, if the plug's not in, then it's not going to go anywhere. Not going to go anywhere at all. I'm going to plug myself first into the electrical grid with the source of the power. Then I can come and talk to you. And if you do it in that way, so sometimes, you realize you have an appliance and you're fidgeting around with it, you this and this and with like, oh, I forgot to plug it in. Of course it's not working, I didn't plug it in. So you plug it in the middle and then it starts to work, right? So the same thing happens in a shear also. You have to plug it in first. But if you forget to plug in before you start the shear, you can plug it in the middle of the shear, and then it can work afterwards. Hashem Elokav imo v'yal imahem l'dabek osam bo yisbarach shmo. Then you will be able to connect your people to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because that is your tafkid. Your tafkid is not to come and give a shear and show your brilliance. What is your tafkid? Your tafkid is to connect Am Yisrael with the Bari Olam. That's what in order for you to do that, you have to be connected yourself first. If you're connected to the Bari Olam, and then you come and speak, and you draw them in, and they're now connected to you, and together you're all connected to the Bari Olam. That's the way it works. So this is all right, let's just finish. Now, you don't have the next page. I'll just read it for myself. You don't have it in front of you. Noon days, let me see. Okay. V'zeu shama b'zohar, and Shua, Zakoi man de'achid biyada de'chayavaya, de'oches biyadam. He says, how wonderful it is, somebody who holds on to the hand of a person who is an avaya, a person who is a sinner. You holding on to his hand because you want to uplift the person. If you do it that way, you're going to have a lot of success. If you want to do it, and you have to do it, of course, with a little better understanding. This is the same thing with tefillah, as we just spoke about before. So everything seems to work with this whole point of connection. If you take a look at your page that you have in front of you, 144, on the bottom there's a number Nun Beis. You see the Nun Beis on the bottom? Mm-hmm. Nun Beis on the left side, left column, Nun Beis. Mm-hmm. It says there, Hakavana Sharama Zaleh Hakan Nire, Shuzu Hamavur B'Samach Ba'oz Pei Aleph, Bakol Ichad. I am the Shem Tov, V'zel Shodo. Next line. Ulafamim kasher mekasher machshavos chaveru lamala. Sometimes, if you want to take the machshavos of your chaver, you want to influence his machshavos. You want to elevate them to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yochol lishanos machshavos chavero be'ofen shehu rotzeh. You have the ability to influence the thoughts of your chaver as you wish. As you wish. Now I'm skipping now the brackets. Kamo ri'iyah sha'adam ro'eh shechaver mabit. If you see somebody looking at somebody and he's looking and he's staring, mishum kol riyaso l'tzad echad, and Mason kol riyaso l'tzad echad, and all of his look, his stare is on one side. You see somebody else, but he's looking in one direction, and that somehow influences you to look in that direction also. What is he looking at? You're curious. What is he looking at? When he's looking at, you want to look at it too. The same thing applies to dibur, speech. If you hear that your chaver is talking about something specific, you also become interested, you want to talk about the same thing. So you see that it's speech that you speak can influence somebody else to want to speak about the same thing. What he's looking at can influence you to also look at the same thing. And therefore, when you come to daven, which is speech, you can have your speech also influencing also that person. The kind of speech that you're doing is to praise Hashem, Hashem. You can do it with your chaver too. But it all depends on what? On your kavanah. On your kavanah. Very, very important. Very important. So everyone should realize now that you have a tremendous ability to make inroads with people who you think need to be elevated. And there's so much balagan in the world today. So much. Whose is that? So much balagan, so much things are out of order. Things are
right now. I'll call you back.
Things are out of order. Things are immoral. There's so much corruption, so much frustration in the entire world. So you have a chance. You have a chance to make a correction. You can make the situation better just by davening with kavanah. But before you start the davening, according to what he says, connect yourself to the grid. Connect yourself to the power source, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then think, I want the words that I'm saying, I want them to influence Ploni ben Ploni. That person, this person, that person, and that person, and third person. And Bezat Hashem, it's going to work. It's going to work. This is a fact of life. It's a fact of life. There are a tremendous amount of energies which are available. No one taps into them. Nobody taps into them because they seem to be, well, it's not something that's tangible. I can't prove it. It's not empirical. It's not scientific. So what? So what? The whole world's not based only on science. There's a lot in the world which is unknown. I told you about the Heisenberg's theory of uncertainty. Told you about that?
No.
Well, it's good to hear this. This is I think he was a German professor of some kind, and way back, I don't know how many years ago, 50, 60 years ago, came out with this idea. Here was a professor, a researcher. He wanted to know what's going on inside the atom, or when you have, subatomic particles that can't be seen with the eye. You have to go with a microscope and see what's doing there. He wants to know what's doing there when no one's looking. I want to know what's going on in the dark. I want to know what's going on in the dark. I want to see what happens in the Bria that I can't see. I don't know what's going on. So he made the room dark, and he gets his microscope, and he's looking down, and he sees that there are a lot of things going on under the microscope that you can't see normally. Very interesting, all that. And he thinks he understands, but he says, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I don't know anything. Even when I know what I'm seeing, I don't know anything. Why not? Because I want to know what's going on in the dark, when no one's looking, when no one sees. But as soon as I shine the light of the microscope on that spot,
It's not dark anymore.
the light is influencing what's going on down there, and things work differently when there's light as opposed to when there's no light. So I'll never know. In other words, I'm always left with the theory, with this matzav of uncertainty. I will never know what's going on in the dark because I can't see it. If you can't see, you don't know it. So what do you have to come on to? You have to come on to belief.
But you can hear what goes on in the dark. You can hear what goes on in the dark.
Well, to a certain degree, but hearing is not seeing. Hearing gives you knowledge. Seeing also gives you knowledge, but it's a different kind of knowledge. Different kind of knowledge.
We have a chance to learn more from hearing than seeing, because seeing can never go on in the dark.
Well,
Hearing can.
yeah, I mean, each one has an advantage and disadvantage. Okay, but anyway, that was a very famous conclusion that he came to. It was called Heisenberg's theory of uncertainty, that there is always a degree of uncertainty in the world. You will never know everything. You cannot know everything. It's impossible. Okay, so that's this piece that we just finished. Now, we'll be holding here. We still have another 10 minutes. All right, let's see. We'll go on a little bit further. I don't have any more pages for you to look at, but I can read from you from my sefer. Okay. Okay, here's a very interesting thing. We have a situation where very often people are forced to stay home. They cannot go to shul. Can't go to shul, whatever the reason is. Inclement weather, corona, whatever you call it. What's the difference between people who are davening at home and people who are davening with a minyan? And what happens if it's not your fault? You wanted to go to shul. You wanted to daven with a minyan. But you were prevented from doing it. So here's an amazing thing. Then he says about the Tolis Yaakov Yosef, this is the Talmud of Baal Shem Tov. Shemaiti Perish Aseh L'Chorav. What does it mean, Aseh L'Chorav? The simple translation of Aseh L'Chorav means everyone should choose some kind of a rabbi that he has to consult with. Consult with a rav. Even sometimes if it's just you and a friend. Make him your rabbi. You have a question, you don't know for sure what to do. Consult with your friend, make him your rabbi. Let him hear you out and discuss it to hear what he has to say. Don't be so haughty and say, I don't have to talk to anybody, I can make all my decisions myself. Always good to discuss things with other people. Yeah.
This is so good that you're saying this, because I've heard this, of course, being said so many times by so many different rows, but this is the first time I've heard someone say, make sure you have a rav, even if it's your friend. You need to consult with someone.
It's in Perkei Avot.
Very good.
Right.
Because sometimes you can't reach a rav, or you're having a problem with your rav, whatever, it could be many things.
It doesn't mean you have to listen to everything he says if he's not a real rabbi.
Right.
But listen to his opinion.
Get it out.
Listen to his opinion. Listen to what he has to say. Maybe you'll think it over and change. Right. But the other parish of Aseh L'Cho Rav, Rav also means many, harbe. So the simple translation is Aseh L'Cho Rav, get yourself a mentor. Get yourself someone to consult with. If it's a real rabbi, good. If it's not, so it's your friend. But it also can mean Aseh L'Cho Rav, make sure you have a lot of people. Always be. You should know Judaism is a religion based on community observance, community service. We're not individuals. God's intention is that we should do things together. Berov Am Hadras Melech.
It's dangerous to daven alone, because now Hashem is going to judge you specifically. If you daven with a minyan,
You can hide.
Right.
right.
He's right. He's right. Chanoch is right. There was a big Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshivas Mir. On Rosh Hashanah, they want to give the Rosh Yeshiva to give a nice choshev aliyah. He never wanted to have an aliyah on Rosh Hashanah. The maximum he would take was Galila. Why? Because it's Rosh Hashanah, it's the Yom Hadin. I don't want to stand out. Why have an aliyah there? How many on Rosh Hashanah? There are 5 aliyahs. I get one of the aliyahs. That means that I'm outstanding. On Rosh Hashanah, on the Yom Hadin, I don't want them to look into my file. I want to be part of the group, that's all.
Right.
Part of Am Yisrael. He never wanted to take an aliyah on Rosh Hashanah. So he says, that's the other meaning here of Aseh L'Cho Rav. Become part of a group. Aseh L'Cho Rav. Rav means harbe. Hitchaber im harbe enoshim. Come on.
We receive Torah as a group.
Right. V'rotzu lomar, she'im hitpalo b'yachid, machmas onso. Now listen to this. This is worth $1 million. what I'm going to tell you now, listen to this, it's so beautiful. If you happen, by course of circumstances, have to daven by yourself, you can't get to shul. Can't. Yitkaven, have in mind, ki yesh harbe ovrei derachim. There are many people like you in the world who are traveling, they don't have a minyan where they are, they're in transit, and they have to daven. So what do? You're on a plane, you daven, you sit in your seat and you daven on the plane. Some places like to make a minyan on the plane. But that's a problem. You have to be careful that you're not going to disturb other people's, thoroughfare. They want to get past you and go to the Sherutim, to the bathroom. Can't do that. It's gezel. You're taking away.
What?
Gezel. You're stealing people. People pay you a ticket that they should be able to use the Sherutim, right?
Right.
If you're making a minyan and you're blocking the aisle, you're stealing from them.
Yeah. I've seen on certain flights, like people it's good that they daven, but they also
So the rabbis say now you should daven in your seat, not
daven in your seat,
right,
by yourself, right? If you can do it, you have a place where it's not going to disturb anybody else.
You can daven over the minyan, but sit in your seat.
Well, then no.
No, what do you mean? That's what they did on the plane. Then the last time I was on the plane and I had a daven, there were about 20 other men.
Yeah.
All davening in their seat,
But sitting together, sitting
together.
Okay, that's something else. If you're sitting together,
not standing.
all right, but you're sitting together. But if you have, people, one here, one there, that's a problem. Anyway, the point is this. Let's say sometimes you have to daven by yourself. It's not because you want to. That's the way it worked out. He says a very important thing. Yiskaven ki yesh harbe orei drachim yishpal b'yochid. Realize this, you're not the only one in the world who's davening by himself. There are many all over the world, thousands and tens of thousands of people who are davening by themselves. Right? Listen to this.
You become part of that minyan. You become part of that minyan.
Or people out in far villages where there is no minyan. Titchaber imahem. In your mind, become connected to them. I want to connect with them. With your mind, you are connecting with them. And that makes the connection. If you, in your mind, say, I'm davening by myself, no, I'm davening together with all of these other yechidim, all those other individuals who are all over the world, they're davening by themselves. I want to connect with them and be part of them.
After you daven at the same time?
Well, of course, if they're not davening, you can stretch it. Maybe you could stretch it. I'm
sure that all over the world with the thousands of people,
you'll probably find people.
Probably have a minyan that's going to be davening at the same time you should be davening.
So he says, "Zeu shom knei l'chol chaver v'ayidei zeh havidon kol adam l'kav schus." You're being mizakeh them. You are doing them a favor, because they didn't know this that what you're doing and you can do. They didn't know that if your kavanah is to unite everybody together, be part of a group, they don't realize that they're now part of a group because of you. So you're giving them a big schus that they didn't know themselves that they had. So by doing this, all the yechidim, all these individuals become one big group. Utfilas Rabbi el kabir lo yimas. Hashem will never put down a tefillah of a group. B'zeh mamash done as Adam B'kav Schus. Who didn't boast tshuva? Okay, that's it. So that's a fantastic thing.
So we have 9 men that are together.
Yeah.
And one other somewhere else in the world.
Correct. Yeah, but the only thing you cannot do is you can't say Kaddish, you can't say Kedusha. That you can't do. You have to have 10 people together, physically together. But this spiritual connection, that you can have.
What happens if you have a minyan of 10 men, right?
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 of them don't say Kedusha at the proper time? Does that mean they don't have a minyan?
No, you have a minyan, but they should all be partaking in the Kedusha. But if you have 10 minyan together, so it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Another thing that I found very helpful, well, suggested to me, I think, is that suppose you have one or two minyanim that you regularly daven say mincha with,
Yeah,
and you're stuck somewhere where you have to, you're gonna be home, whatever it is, for whatever reason, or you're gonna be out.
no,
You know when they're mincha, you daven at that time.
exactly,
That's extremely helpful.
absolutely.
What should I daven? Anytime, if not, anytime you feel like it.
Absolutely.
But how do you know they have a minion? Maybe they won't have a minion. When you're davening with them, maybe you're number 8 or number 9. They're still,
No, you just.
But if you know when the schools, the shul schedule.
4:30, you daven at 4:30.
You know the shul schedule, you make sure you start Shmona Esrei when they start Shmona Esrei, that's all.
You feel like you're married. Yeah. This is when I'm gonna daven, you have a set time.
But this is really
I
great.
think of groups like that I'm by myself, that I know they're davening now, I'm part of it.
We do that.
That's right. That's exactly what you, if you know what the schedule is, go according to the schedule, daven with them. In your mind, join the group, you're together with them. So then you're not considered davening by yourself. You're not going to be singled out in the Shemayim and looked at as an individual. You're going to be part of the group. Because your kavanah is what does it. The kavanah is what does it. I can't tell you how important that is to realize that the Zohar says a person is where his mind is. That's where a person is. Not where he physically is. A person is where his mind is. And if your mind is with the group, or your mind is with all the individuals all over the world who are davening, and you want to unite them and become part of the group, then you have now accomplished Tefillah B'tzibur. Even though you don't even know where these people are, it makes no difference. But Hashem will take it and put them all together. Okay, so we learned a tremendously important thing to remember in these important times about your kavanah to join the group. Amazing. All right, till today, till tomorrow, till next week, Rabbi say.
you don't